come and share with you. And I want to thank you, first of all, for supporting Folds of Honor. And I want to specifically thank you for supporting the Veterans Resource Center. Ken just briefly mentioned the number of veterans that the Veterans Resource Center is helping here in the Dallas area. And I'm actually one of those individuals. And I went kicking and screaming to get help because I didn't want help, because I'm a veteran that doesn't need help. And but Ken and his good friend John Cook have a lot of patience, and they're Marines, and they put up with me, and they finally got me the help I needed as my advocates for the VA. And I'm not here to get your sympathy, but I'm just going to give you an example of what we're facing out there. And I stand before you right now where I'm in constant pain. I've got pain in my neck, my arms, my legs. I had spine surgery in January of 2016, otherwise I'd be in a wheelchair right now. My feet are messed up for the rest of my life. And if it wasn't for these gentlemen at the Veterans Resource Center getting me the help I need with the VA, I don't know where I would be. And I'm not an example of those who really need the help, who are out there right now with PTSD, who are missing limbs, who are burned all over their bodies, and who are struggling. We're losing about 20 to 22 veterans a day from suicide. And so veterans don't know where to go for help, and they don't reach out for help, but places like the Veterans Resource Center are there for them. And because they've given me help, I've been able to reach out to veterans from Vietnam veterans to current day war veterans who also are now going to the Veterans Resource Center to get help. So they can be directed to the appropriate agencies with the VA department and so on. So for you to support this organization is really helping a lot of veterans that need help. And I want to thank you for that from the bottom of my heart. And we all go through difficulties in life, we all go through struggles. And you know, as a veteran, when we're serving our country, we're not asking for a handout. But it sure is nice when, as you all know as veterans, when we do get help, and it's a show of appreciation for our service. And you know, for myself, I served with my dad being a Vietnam veteran, my grandfather being a World War II veteran. I had 7 years as an F-16 fighter pilot. And a shout out to GE. I want you to know from the 4 combat units that I flew in, I always loved the GE engine. We're going into combat, you know, I wanted the GE engine, Block 30, Block 40. I had 67 combat missions, over 1,000 hours in the F-16, over 230 hours of combat time, flying missions over Iraq and over Bosnia. I had 2 notable historical combat missions over Bosnia. The first was in 1994. It was NATO's first military action in history. We downed 5 aircraft over that country that were in violation of the no-fly zone. So they were bad boys, we had to shoot them down.
Right.
But unfortunately, I'm learning some new stuff too. They didn't like us doing that. And they wanted to take revenge. And they actually used spycraft and human intelligence to find out when we would be flying over that territory again and to individually target us. And we were engaged in a SAM trap where myself and another pilot who was involved in their shoot down were engaged by a SAM site that we didn't know was in country. And have you ever had a bad day? You know, we all face difficulties and have bad days. Well, this bad day I had turned into 6 days of fighting for my life, where I had death knocking at my door more than once. And when we were on a peacekeeping mission, flying over the skies of Bosnia, trying to prevent genocide from occurring in that region where hundreds of thousands of civilians were being murdered by death squads, and tactics like systematic rape being used for psychological warfare, and people being maimed and killed by landmines or snipers in the region. We saw the death and destruction to the civilian non-combatants and wanted to protect them. But unfortunately, the bad agents on the ground, the bad entities, didn't like us being there. And because of our involvement, they set up a trap, and I was the unfortunate one that got caught in the trap. I had an SA-6, which is a Soviet short-term missile impact my aircraft, about 10 feet behind my seat in the cockpit. The F-16 exploded around me. All the jet fuel ignited. I was being burned alive before I could even reach the ejection handle. The cockpit had actually sheared off in the explosion from the main frame of the F-16. And I ended up ejecting at about 5 miles above the earth at a clip and airspeed around 500 miles per hour. At a parachute descent that lasted up to nearly a half an hour before I could even hit the ground, and enemy death squads were ready there to kill me. I was hunted down for 6 days, where I evaded the paramilitaries that were trying to find me. Sometimes they were only a few feet away from me, and I could see them carrying their SKS rifles. There was the first afternoon where they shot at anything that moved in the woods, thinking it was me, only confirming our intel sources that they told us that if we were on the ground, that we were worth more dead than alive for propaganda reasons. I'm desperately trying to reach somebody on the radio using standard operating procedures, but then as time progressed, not knowing why it was taking me so long to reach them in the radio, and after 6 days of not sleeping, no food, being hypothermic, I was trying to make contact, trying to evade up to higher terrain where their line of sight of the radio could work better, but also not knowing that aircraft that normally would be flying right over my position were not there anymore on patrol. They're now about 80 miles away from my position because of the unknown threat in the region. When I was finally able to make contact, friendly forces immediately were already tasked for assignments and missions that day. They were all rolled into one assignment, and that was CSAR, recovery of a downed air crew member. You know, all of us as veterans know that there's no more important mission than that of saving one of our own. And the United States Marines came in to pick me up, but as they picked me up, we're flying out on our 2 CH-53s with Cobra attack gunships, as built-in close air support with Harrier jump jets, as well as an armada of support overhead. We were shot at by surface-to-air missiles that are shoulder-launched SA-7s. There was at least 3 of them. ZSU-23 gunship, anti-aircraft artillery gun was shot at us, and small arms fire. And those 6 days, I have to tell you, were probably some of the most harrowing 6 days I went through, but they're also some of the most positive 6 days I've ever had in my life. Because when I came back from it, I realized that there's only 3 things that really mattered in my life. That was my faith, my family, and my country. And when we came home from the event, we didn't join the military to be on the news. But for some reason, they decided to pick that event as a news story of the day. And we were shocked by that. Myself, the Marines, and I have to tell you why is because I know of so many men and women who have served in the military who've gone through so much worse to come home to no attention at all. No fanfare, no welcome home. In fact, some came home to unfair ridicule that should never have happened. And I asked myself, well, why are they calling us heroes? And so I didn't go to the dictionary to look up the definition. I went to my own life growing up and I asked myself, well, who are heroes to me? And I have to tell you a confession. While I was out there surviving in a war zone, I was not looking to be a hero. I was just trying to survive and live and go home. It was just my duty to work to be able to make that happen. It was those Marines, though, that knowingly risked their lives to save my life that were my heroes. Because to me, heroes are people in life who do things to help other people. And I looked at it, though, does it take a 19-year-old Marine underneath a life-threatening condition to make somebody a hero? And I don't believe so. I believe that there are heroes that are out there on a day-to-day basis that are doing some things to help others, like yourselves right now here today. Helping others that you might not ever get in contact with. But because of your involvement in the donations that you're given to Folds of Honor and to the Veterans Resource Center, you're going to reach out and help others to be able to have a healthier and happier life. And here in your personal life, when you do something to help a family member, a friend, or more important, a stranger. And I have to tell you, as a veteran, and even in your professional life with GE Aviation, the work you're doing on the military side and even on the civilian side, that to me makes you heroes. But when we do things in life that are to give out and help others, where do you get the reward? Does it come from getting an award or a decoration? As all the veterans know, we get ribbons on our chest. Does that really make that much of a difference? It is a badge of honor, don't get me wrong. What I found in life is that when we do things to help others, the real reward only comes in your heart, knowing you did the right thing. And really, that's the only reward we should ever look for in life. Because I have to tell you, when I was on board that helicopter and we're coming out of country and we were taking fire, and then we were going through the valley where we're literally flying only a few feet off the ground in the CH-53s, where we're having to climb to clear the tree lines because we're trying to stay out of the small arms fire. The bullets were coming through our helicopter. One of the bullets came through, slammed off the roof rafter, and entered into the side of the sergeant major that was sitting right across from me, only a hand's breadth away from my face. But instead of entering into his body cavity, it dented into his canteen. And then the spent round rolled over to a foot of a Marine, and he reaches down, he picks up the bullet, and he looks at it, and he stuck it in his pocket. And at that point, you could smell the salt air of the side big gun doors receiving in the salt air because we were flying just a few feet over the ocean. And we knew then we were not going to be shot at anymore. And if you'd been on board that helicopter ride with us at that moment to look around, you would have thought you would have seen a celebration of cheering and screaming and jumping and high fives. But if you'd have been on that ride, you would have not seen any of that. Instead, it was almost dead silence. And the only thing you would have noticed were some content smiles on those camouflaged faces, knowing that 61 went in and 62 came home. And that was a great feeling. And we came home from this event, and I'm headed back home now, and I'm excited. I'm going back after 4 years of overseas assignments and being in different combat tours, to where I'm coming back to my family, I'm coming back to my country, the United States. But I have to tell you, that joy that I had of being able to return to the United States actually was kind of scary to me. And I'll honestly have to confess to you, I was a little worried as to what I was coming home to. Because for 4 years when I'm stationed overseas wearing our nation's uniform, I hear about riots in the streets of Los Angeles where over 50 American citizens were killed in ugly, cold-blooded murder. I hear about a Branch Davidian standoff in Waco, Texas that ended in human tragedy. And then I want to remind us all that it was just a few weeks before I shot down, we had a tragedy in our history of our country that should never be forgotten. That was the Oklahoma City bombing. That was a terrorist attack in the heartland of America that killed over 100 American citizens. And what was more disgusting was it was perpetrated not only by an American citizen, but by a veteran, somebody who once wore our nation's uniform. And I was absolutely disgusted and dumbfounded that that could ever happen. Stunned. And I wasn't the only one. All my fellow service members at the time, when I was overseas, were in shock that that could ever happen in our country. So I honestly didn't know, was I coming home to the same America that I had left 4 years earlier, or had America changed for the worse? But you know what I saw when I landed in Washington, D.C.? Not only my family and my friends there to greet me back home, but a crowd waving American flags and holding up a sign saying, "Welcome home, Bachelor 5-2." Do you know what I saw from that? Not with my eyes, but with my heart. I saw that there are people who live here in this country like yourselves that care. You wouldn't be here at this golf tournament to raise money for veterans if you didn't care about those who serve this country and the future we have here in this nation. And for me to be able to see that when I step out that airplane in Washington, D.C., to know that there are fellow Americans who care about our future, as you all do here today, that makes me proud. Proud to be somebody who served overseas for 4 years, but more importantly, it's because of individuals like yourselves that even made it possible for me to be able to survive for 6 days in a war, to be able to return here to be able to say one thing. And that's that I am proud to be an American. And I have you to thank for that. May God bless you, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for supporting Folds of Honor and the Veterans Resource Center and all the veterans that are going to be affected by it. Thank you for being out here.